Okay, so what do I have to do first? I'm asked to find the equation of the line passing through the given ordered pairs. Then present the equation in slope-intercept form. Find the x and y intercepts and then graph. How do I start? What is the starting point? Can anyone tell us? I would like everyone to participate. It's okay if you're wrong. Javi? Yes. First I have to find the slope, which is? Very good. I have to be very careful how I label those. So if this is my y2 and this is my y1, then I have to write 0 minus 4. And this is my x2 minus x1, negative 3, negative 3. Is this okay so far? We agree? So then the numerator is negative 4, the denominator is negative 6. I have to simplify the slope to 2/3. Negative over negative is positive. I divide the top by 2. I divide the bottom by 2. So it's 2/3. Okay, that is established. That's a good point. Next, what do I do? Right, I have to write a point slope form. What is that? Excellent. I recommend, of course, feel free to choose your method or invent one. I'm fine. But I prefer writing those numbers underneath so I don't make a mistake. And I prefer this one now. I prefer negative 3 and 0 because it's easier once I have y equals 2/3 x plus 3. I have to distribute 2/3. So then the equation becomes 2/3 x plus 2. Do you all agree with this?
Yes.
So what did I accomplish so far? I found the equation. I presented it in the slope-intercept form. And now I want to find the x-intercept, x and y-intercept. There is one intercept that I already have. Which one is it?
The x.
I don't have the x. So when x is 0,
Oh.
I have y equals 2. So I have the y-intercept, so 0, comma 2. So here it is. So I have 1 point so far. If you want to use 2/3, first of all, the slope has to be positive. You will go up 2 and 3 to the right, and you will graph. I don't want to do that. Can you do it? Yes. Is it correct? Yes. But this is what we need, always. For any function, for any graph, we will always be looking for the x and y intercepts, if they exist. If they exist. Okay, so then I determine the y-intercept when x is 0. How do I find the x-intercept? How do I find where the line crosses the x-axis? I have to set y to 0, because this line is y equals 0, and this line is x equals 0. That's y. Very good. So then I will replace y by 0. So I have 0 equals 2/3 x plus 2. How do I solve this equation? What type of equation is it? It doesn't have x in the denominator. It's a rational. It would have been a rational equation only if x were in the denominator next to 3 somehow. So what type of equation is it? Absolutely linear, because x has power 1 and it's at the top in the numerator. Good. So how do I solve this? Can anyone walk us through? Say anything. Danielle, what should I do next? What would you do? Exactly. Wonderful. Excellent. I will subtract 2 from both sides. Done. Perfect. What will I have to do next? Excellent. 3/2. I want to eliminate the fraction, so I will multiply this side by 3/2 and this side by 3/2. Excellent. And therefore, I get x equals? Yeah, negative. Right? Perfect. So I will simplify the 2 with the 2. These 2 go away. Or you can say negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Whichever you prefer. What is the ordered pair that represents the x-intercept? Mike? Take your time.
So
So-
the order pair that represents the
That represents the x-intercept. This is what we just determined. In this little piece here, we just determined the x-intercept. What is it?
it would be negative 3 and 0.
Excellent. Here it is. Now, when I'm asked to graph a line, I cannot just graph 2 points and leave it alone. This is not the line. This is not the line, right? What am I doing with these 2 points? Right. We agree? What do we do with them? Anyone? Norville? What do you think we're going to do with these to show the line? Connect and extend. Indeed. Very good. I have to connect and extend, and this gives me the line, and this is not enough. If you remember, we said I must write y equals 2/3 x plus 2 somewhere next to it. So I know what I graphed. What did I graph? I graphed 2/3 x plus 2. Y equals 2/3 x plus 2. Any questions on this problem? Any questions? Okay, so let's look at the next one. So,
I had some.
yes.
So
Oops.
what was the, why did the x become 0 again?
It didn't. We made it.
Okay.
So in order to find the x-intercept, I have to make x equals 0 because this line, which is the x-axis, has the equation y equals 0. Is the altitude 0. If this is the altitude 0, then this is the altitude negative 1. And this is the altitude positive 1. So if this is y equals 0, then this is y equals 1, and this is y equals negative 1.
Okay.
Now when we talk about vertical and position, so this is altitude.
Okay.
But when we talk about position, we mean x equals 0, x equals 1, x equals negative 1. It's not a point. When I say x equals 1, I have to give you the y coordinate. If I don't give you the y coordinate, it means that I'm talking about a vertical line whose equation is x equals 1.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So next is negative 2/3 less than 2x minus 1 over 2 less than or equal to 1/4. Okay, what do I do next? I just copied it. I didn't do anything really. So what am I doing here? That will not work. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It will work, but I will make it more difficult.
Least common
You know, the least common denominator, which is
12.
indeed. I recommend 12. You can do it in several steps, and 2 will work as well, but I recommend 12. So because I have fractions everywhere, I will write this. 12 over 1 times 12 over 1 times 12 over 1. And take a moment and perform the operations. Here, I don't recommend you multiply and then divide. I recommend divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, 12 divided by 3 is 4. What do we have on the left-hand side then? 4 times negative 2, because this is multiplication. So negative 8, less than. Do not distribute. That's not the point. Here's what is the point. To get rid of the fraction. So then I have 6 quantity 2x minus 1 less than or equal to 1 over 4 times 12 over 1 is, simplify by 4, 4 divided by 4, 12 divided by 4. I recommend this step. However, even multiplying both sides by 2 and then working with fractions is possible, but it could get a little bit more difficult. Okay, next step, please.
Distribute.
Yes, now I will distribute. Negative 8 less than 12x minus 6 less than or equal to 3. The next step would be Yes, I have to add 6 because this is the weakest link. This has to go away. So then I have negative 2 less than 12x less than or equal to 9. And really the final step is to
Divide by 12.
both sides by, all three sides by 12. So this is negative 1 over 6 because 2 over 12 is 1 or 6 and minus in front, less than x, less than or equal to 9 over 12. I'll simplify by 3 and I get 3/4. Yes, you can do that in 2 steps if you want. You don't have to just perform the operations in 1 step. It's fine. But what about the interval notation? What will be the interval notation here? Can anyone dictate the interval notation? Very good. Yes, comma. Yes, very good. I prefer writing in front x in the interval, but this is clear. Once I have a parenthesis and a bracket, it cannot be confused with an ordered pair. There's no ordered pair x comma y that has a bracket somewhere. So there is no need for this. Good. Last problem. Answer the following questions about the given graph. Does the graph represent the graph of a function? Yes or no answer will not give credit, will not get credit. Very good. Yes, by the vertical line test. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, find the domain and range. I have the graph and I can, sometimes it's difficult from a graph to approximate the domain and range, but let's give it a shot. Can anyone give us the domain for this function and the range for this function? Can anyone give us the domain of this function, roughly assuming that I'm seeing everything correctly? What would you say about the domain?
It's
1, comma, whoops, comma,
7.
comma 7, approximately. Okay, I'm standing here, I'm not looking carefully, so I think it's somewhere between 1 and 7. Perfect. Can anyone give us the range? Oh, of course. This must be a bracket. This is an open point, but this is a closed point. So that's why I signified it as a bracket with a full point and a parenthesis with an open point, of course. So now what about the range? It is a full point. It is a full point, and it goes up till, so this is open, but this exists. So then the range of this function would be both closed between
-4 and 6.
-4 and 6. I completely agree. Perfect. Good. Find the x-intercepts. Do they exist? And if they do exist, I want ordered pair or ordered pairs. Thank you very much. What about f of 3? How do I find f of 3? What is given in my question? What is given when I'm asked to find f of 3? Careful. F of 3. X is given. What is that? How much? X is 3. So somewhere between these two, 1, 2, 3, 4, so right here, I draw the line x equals 3. I see it crosses the graph in some point, and I will correspondingly read the y value, and that will be f of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 2.2468, 10. So I will say negative. Oh, actually, hold on. I forgot about 3. So where will 3 be? Somewhere in the middle, right here, right? So this will be -3. So What will I say? I agree. I'm fine. It's hard to read. So I'll say negative 3.25. I'm happy with that. Good. Okay. Find the x value such that f of x is negative 2. What is given now in this question? So y is given indeed. Y equals negative 2. Yes, any questions? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm just trying to figure out, because I guess I'm just like confused, like, because I haven't went over this, like, we haven't went over this in last class, so when I took O11. Don't understand how you got.
This is part of chapter 3. You had to go over this. Maybe the professor didn't do it, but officially you were supposed to. So I can't say what really happened in your class, but this is part of the course, O11.
For O11?
Yeah.
Oh, missed that boat. So.
That is very possible. I can't say.
Okay. So the F, so I'm just trying to figure out how you got negative 3.25.
I'm asked to find f of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because in parentheses is the independent variable. It means that x equals 3. And we just mentioned the fact that this is a vertical line, x equals 3.
Mm-hmm.
I drew the vertical line, x equals 3. I saw that it crosses the graph in this point, and I read the corresponding y value. And that will be f of 3.
Okay.
Now, finally, the last question here. We are asked to find x values such that f of x is negative 2. So we are told y equals negative 2. What does that mean again? How do I graph this? I just mentioned that just a couple of minutes ago. How do I graph y equals negative 2? A horizontal line at negative 2. Here it is. So this is y equals negative 2, right? Do you remember my markers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it crosses the graph in these 2 points. Therefore, I have to read the corresponding x values. So again, if this is 3 and this is 2, I'm going to say roughly 2.5. So x equals 2.5. And what else will you say? So if this is 5 right here, I'm going to say 5 point. I agree. 5 point. It's a little bit closer to 2 than 6. 5.3. So I was asked before to write ordered pairs. I recommend always write ordered pairs. 3 comma negative 3.25 and 2.5 comma what was it, negative 2, and the other one is 5.3 comma negative 2. So this is negative 2 and this is a comma. So these are the points we read from. Yes, in real life situations it will be like this, kind of hard to read from the graph. Just come up with your best estimate. Good. Any questions on this? Any questions on this? Okay. Did you have any difficulties with any particular topic or part of the problem? Any questions? Okay, perfect. So let me show you where we are right now. So we completed these 3 sections. Now we're moving on to 2.5, 3.5, 8.1. Okay. You will see 3.5 is part of the previous course. It's very similar to 8.1. So these two, we look at the review and then we look at 8.1. But first, let's look at some problem solving and formulas in 2.5. And then we'll continue with functions. So formulas and problem solving. We're going back to section 2.5. Formulas and problem solving. I would like to start with some equations in which, although these equations are basically models, they are models from chemistry, from physics, from economics, from geometry, and so on and so forth. And those will be equations with more than one unknown. And you can say, how can I solve an equation that has more than one unknown, if I only have one equation, in other words. And the answer is you're not asked to solve for more than one unknown. You are indicated which unknown to solve for. Okay, so bear with me. Do you remember any formula from geometry? Let's say the area of a circle. Do we remember the area of a circle?
Two pi r squared.
That is 2 pi r. You're very close, and that's the circumference. 2 pi r, I agree. Perfect. 2 pi r. Perfect. You're on the right track. And what will be the area? Pi r squared. I agree. So both are for a circle. What the circumference means? What does it mean? Just the length of the circle. It's like the perimeter for a rectangular form. Good. So let's say in something like this, do I have two variables? Yes, but this equation is already solved for one of them. So I have A equals pi r squared. It's already solved. I'm not asked to do anything here. What about this? Does it have two variables? Yes, the circumference is a variable and r is a variable, the radius. It's already solved for C. Now, if I give you, in case you forgot, the area of a trapezoid, so this is a trapezoid, an isosceles trapezoid. These two sides are equal. And let's say this is the height. This is the length of the small base. And this is the length of the big base. It's called isosceles. It's an isosceles trapezoid only because these two sides are equal. They don't have to be equal. I just looked at this example. Now, anyone remembers the area of a trapezoid that is also, it doesn't matter really if it's isosceles or not, but anyone remembers the area of a trapezoid? Here it is. The area of a trapezoid is the length of the big base plus the length of the small base, all of this in parentheses, multiplied by the height and divided by 2. Now, in comparison to the area and the circumference of the circle, where we saw an equation or a model, if you want, with two variables, how many variables we see in the area of a trapezoid? 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to choose one to solve for. And you can say what will happen to the other ones. We will consider them known. We will think, oh, they're just numbers. I just don't have the numbers, but they're just numbers. So which one would you like to solve for? A, uppercase B, lowercase b, or H? We want to solve for H first. So let's say solve for H. This is our indication. We are told to solve for H. Good, excellent. So this is our variable. Everything else will be considered known. Okay, any suggestions on what to do next? To get closer to solving for H. Solving for H means H equals blah, blah, blah. Yes, I'm sorry, I talked it.
Put some numbers in for B.
I will not. I can't. I'm asked to solve as is. Say it again? Exactly. I have to assume that these are given to us, but they cannot be replaced by numbers. They have to stay as is. So indeed, we have to multiply both sides by 2. Excellent. The left-hand side then.
2.
Very good. Excellent. the right-hand side, of course, I'm going to do this, and that's the whole thing. That's why I want to cross it out. So now I have uppercase B, lowercase b, multiplied by h. H is still the only question or the only variable or the only unknown in the problem. What do I do now to solve for h? I have something in here. So how do I solve for h?
Divide by b plus.
Exactly, divide by this, because this is a number that multiplies h, indeed. So you can write this. I don't really like to write this. I want to skip this step if possible. You don't have to write it like this if that's what makes you see it better. So this is 2a divided by b plus b. That's it. What did we do? What did we accomplish? We solved the model for a particular letter that was indicated to us. And we were not bothered by A, B, and B. We just considered them, oh, okay. They're known. I don't have the numbers, but they are considered to be known. Now let's come back to the same thing and choose another variable. Of course not A, and of course not H. So choose one of the other two, either the uppercase B or the lowercase b. I'm going to write the area one more time, and you'll tell me which would you like to solve for. Either uppercase b or lowercase b. Any preference? Well, let's say uppercase b. So this is our variable. We have to assume a, h, and lowercase b as if they are just numbers. Next step. What do I have to do? Of course, as the same step like before. So then I have 2a equals uppercase b plus lowercase b times h. Remember, we're solving for uppercase b. Good. Now, what would you recommend? Absolutely. I absolutely recommend you can write this if that makes you comfortable. I prefer eliminating that step, but it's fine. So I have b plus b equals 2a over h. Notice that it doesn't matter which direction do I write the equation from. I can write it from right to left or from left to right. Okay. Remember, we are solving for uppercase b. What would be the last step towards solving? Getting uppercase b alone on one side.
Subtract lowercase b.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. So 2a divided by h minus b. Did we solve for uppercase b? Yes, that was the target. Okay, now if you have your books, please choose any problem you want from 17 through 28 on page 122. Page 122 from 17 to 28. Anything that catches your eye so we can move on. But something must catch your eye. If not, I will choose. If no preference, then it means that you trust me and I will choose. Which one?
No, what was the numbers again? I'm sorry.
From 17 to 28, right here. From 17 to 28. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 22. A equals P plus P R T, and we are asked to solve for uppercase T. I want you to think for a minute on this problem. And raise your hand if you have difficulties with anything. If you need any help. Yes. The problem is telling us solve for T. So look at this equation as if everything is a number except T. And think what would you normally do to solve for T. Can anyone give us an idea? I already saw it. Of course. You have to get rid of the other term that does not have t in it. Oh, absolutely. And then, exactly. That's it. Absolutely. We have to move this term to the other side. It's a must. It doesn't have t. It does not belong to this side. It's to go to the other side with the other term that doesn't have t in it. And then we have to clear this portion, because that's in the way. Very good. Is that clear? Okay. So we are going to move p. So this is a minus p equals p RT. We are solving for t. And now somehow we have to get rid of this. And since it's multiplied, the only operation that we can apply, absolutely. So then t equals a minus p divided by pr. Be very careful, because there are two ways here. One way would be to divide each term. There are three terms here. This is the first term. This is the second term. And this is the third term. By PR, completely separate, each and every one of them by PR. So this is one option. A divided by PR minus P divided by PR equals PRT divided by PR, which will give us T. In this scenario, you can simplify by P. In this scenario, if you simplify by P, that will be a terrible mistake. And this has to wait till chapter 7. So choose the option you like, but just make sure that you don't simplify P with P in this scenario. Okay, so now the other option here is to rewrite A divided by PR minus 1. That's why I put the 1, because if you don't put the 1, you may think it's 0 at the top, and it's not. So it's 1 divided by R. Both answers are correct. They mean the same thing. I just don't want you to, the reason why I wrote it like this, although I do prefer this one, is because I wanted to discuss the fact that you cannot simplify this P with this P. Why? This piece is a term in the numerator. This piece is a factor in the denominator. Why factor? Because it's multiplied. Two numbers multiplied, not connected with anything else. Two numbers or quantities multiplied together are factors. Two quantities added or subtracted are terms. You cannot simplify a term with a factor. So we're going to discuss this in detail in chapter 7. So be very careful on that one. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, very good. So I'd like to look at a couple of word problems now. On page 123. Let's look at problem 38 on 123. If the length of a rectangular parking lot is something like this. It says if the length, this is the length, is 10 meters less than twice the width, this is the width. If the length is 10 meters less than twice its width, and the perimeter is 400 meters, find the length of the parking lot. Okay, I have to read the problem one more time. If the length of a rectangular parking lot is 10 meters less than twice its width, I would like you to come up with something that I would be able to write that represents exactly what I just said. The length is 10 meters less than twice the width. Let's call the length X. Let's call the width Y. I have to clarify that.
Y minus 10.
So first of all, I have to start from the beginning. I'm not saying it's wrong. The length is, please tell me what to write. The length is. Excellent. The length is. Now, 10 meters less than twice the width. Now you can say it again. It's okay if it's wrong. I didn't.
2y minus 10.
2y minus 10. Very good. Excellent. Indeed. 2 times the length, 10 meters less than that. I know you may be tempted to write 10 minus 2y. Let me explain why that would be wrong. You have $100 in your pocket. And I come to you and say, I have $10 less than what you have. Is it 100 minus 10 or 10 minus 100? Right? One more time. You have $100. And I come to you and say, I have $10 less than what you have. So how much do I have? 100 minus 10, which is 90. Not 10 minus 100, which would be negative 90, right? So it's the same situation here. The length is, there's no question here. The length is means equal symbol, right? The length is 10 meters less than twice the width. I know it sounds like I'm doing this instead of this, but that's what it is. Always think of that simple example. Okay, is everyone in agreement with this equation? Okay, the next sentence. The perimeter is 400 meters. Can anyone give us a relationship that will give us the perimeter for, first of all, what is the perimeter of this rectangular figure?
2x plus 2y.
Very good, right? So the perimeter of this room will be length plus width plus length plus width. Twice times the length plus twice times the width. Good. So now we are told that the perimeter is 400 meters. Can anyone come up with an equation that has to be attached to this one? Ready? Say it again. 400 equals to, it's the same thing. 2y plus 2x is the same thing, or 2x plus 2y is fine. Good. Excellent. We are going to discuss this in chapter 4. Does anyone know what name bears this particular situation with two equations put together and two variables? X and y, two equations put together. Do we know what this is called? It's called a system of linear equations in two what? Two variables. It's a system of two equations in two variables. System of two linear equations in two variables. I will write here too. It's clear, but system of two linear equations in two variables. Perfect. Can anyone give us an idea what to do? First of all, I'm going to rewrite these two equations. There is nothing I can do to this one, so it's x equals 2y minus 10. Is there anything that we can do to the second equation? And I want to establish something else. We have an agreement that we signed on the first day of classes, but I want to establish something else that you will hear from me all the time. And they are simplify. Always simplify. This is one thing. Number two, that I'm going to say more often than not, factor. Okay? So these are two key words that you will hear from me all the time. Simplify, 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 simplify. Make it as easy as possible. Simplify. And factor whenever it's the case. Good. So please look at the second equation and say, oh, I know. I can make it simple. How will I make the second equation simple? Is there a way of making it simple? Divide both sides by? Exactly. So then I will have x plus y equals 200. The solutions will not change if I simplify that equation. I want to simplify the equation as much as possible. I want to simplify everything as much as possible. Okay. So now, can anyone say, I think I know what you should do. You should blah, blah, blah. Any suggestions? Solve for x. It's already solved for x. This one is solved for x. And what should I do next?
So then you take that top equation, you put it as your x.
Exactly. Exactly. We're going to do this a lot. It's called substitution. I substitute in the second equation. I replace, in other words, x in the second equation by what? By what it equals to. I'm told that it equals to y minus 10. That's what I'm going to do. Can anyone dictate the new equation that we just created together?
2y minus 10 plus y equals 2.
Excellent. This is it. We replaced x in the second equation by what it equals to from the first one, substituting it, or replacing it if you want, and now we have an equation that we can solve. I don't know how to solve this equation. It has two variables. I don't know how to solve this equation. It has two variables, but I know how to solve this one. What type of equation is this? I have to be able to identify it. If I'm not able to identify it, I may not know what to do. What type of equation is it? Linear. Very good. That's another, oops, don't make that mistake. Linear. That's another thing that I'm going to ask you all the time. What is it? What is it? What is it? I know. I already apologized that I'm going to sound like a broken record, so I'm not going to apologize again, because I said to you on the first day of classes, I sound like a broken record, and I apologize for the entire semester. That's it. Good. Okay, so I combine like terms, and of course I have to move 10 to the other side. Since it was negative on one side, I move it to the other, it's to 10, and now I know what I have to do, and I get y. How much is y? Very good. 70 meters. Always remember, the answer, if there is a measurement unit in the problem, we have to use it. 70 is not acceptable. I'm not saying, you know what I mean. Now, is this good enough? I don't care what they asked me to do. They said find the length. Okay? That's fine. But that's not good enough. I want to find the width. Now, this was the width. I want to find the length now. 2 times 70. 140 minus 10. That's it. So I know now that x equals 130 meters. What is the ordered pair that I just determined as the solution of the system? Careful.
130.
Good. Now, does this work? I don't need you to tell me, and you don't need me to tell you. What do you think I'm going to do with this? Exactly. Nobody needs to tell us. I'm going to plug it in both equations, in original equations. If this ordered pair verifies both equations, I'm in business. If it does not verify both equations, then that is not the correct solution. So I have to try 130, 70. So I'm going to write 130, 70, 130, and 70, and perform my calculations. 2 times 170 is 140 minus 10 is 130. The first equation is safe. Now I have to check the second one. I can check here, but it's possible that I made a mistake from here. It's very possible. Well, I see it's 130 plus 7 is 200, right? So 2 times 130 is 260 plus 140. 260 plus 140 I know is 400. So now I can answer any question they want. They are asking us to find the length. Okay, so I have the length is 130 meters. And I have the width is 70. And there is no other option. The length must be 130 and the width must be 70 for these two conditions to be fulfilled. There is no other option. Any questions for me? Any questions? Let's look at one more problem. Let me see if I'm at the 1 hour mark. No, I can still go on. For the video I meant. Okay, so let's look at problem 40 on page 123. And then I'd like to continue. The perimeter of a yield sign in the shape of an isosceles triangle. What is an isosceles triangle? Special. What is it special about it? That all three sides are equal. Very good. So the perimeter is 22 feet. If the shortest, oh, an isosceles, I'm sorry, I was thinking of equilateral. So it's two sides are equal. This one is not. So the difference between an equilateral triangle, that will have all three sides equal. This is only an isosceles. So only two sides are equal. Sorry. If the shortest side is 2 feet less than the other two sides, so I'm going to say that this is the shortest side. If the shortest side is 2 feet less than the other two sides, find the length of the shortest side. One more time. If the shortest side, so the perimeter is 22 feet, if the shortest side is 2 feet less than the other two. So I'm going to call this X. Therefore, I have to call this X. And I'm going to call the shortest side Y. We are told that the shortest side is 2 feet less than the other two. Can anyone give us an idea what to write? Anyone? Do we all agree with y equals x minus 2? The shortest side is 2 feet less than the other two, the measure of the other two. Okay, very good. So now I have an equation with two variables. I won't be able to solve if I cannot come up with a second equation. Can anyone give us a second equation? From the information we have. Can we come up with a second equation?
22 equals 2x plus 1.
Excellent. 22 equals 2x plus y. Does everyone agree with 22 equals 2 times x plus y? Do we understand why? So perimeter 22, x plus y must equal 22. Perfect. Excellent. What do you recommend now? Same method, same idea. Substitution. What will I substitute with what? And where?
Substitute the y with the y.
Very good. Y is the same with x minus 2. I will replace y in the second equation by x minus 2. Can anyone dictate that second equation that now will have only one variable and we will be able to solve it? I'm ready when you are. I have to show it first, but you're right. 2x, and then I replace y by x minus 2. So the equation indeed becomes 22 equals 3x minus 2. Can anyone tell us what to do next?
Add 2.
Of course, I have to add 2 to both sides. I'm moving 2 to this side. So 24 equals 3x. Obviously, I have x. How much is x? 8 feet. Please, measurement unit. Good. So now can I determine the shortest side then? How much is the shortest side then? So then y, which is the shortest side, will be, I have it right here. Yes, 8 minus 2 will be the shortest side. Measurement unit? Feet. The ordered pair that appears, we are not sure yet, 100% sure, it appears to be the solution of the system is comma 6. I don't trust it, and you shouldn't either. So go back, replace 8 and 6, 8 and 6, and perform the calculations. 2 times 8, 16, plus 6 is 22. Yes, Becky, go ahead. Oh, yeah. So once we have x equals 8, I have 8 minus 2 here. 8 minus 2 will be 6. I go back to the original system to get y. Any questions for me? Well, this section is finished. So please remember 2.5, you have these problems to work on. At least every other problem, at least check the answer in the back after you redo the problems in class. And this section is finished. So my left plus should be done. So you can ask questions for Thursday. Okay, moving on to equations of lines. Again, this is a review from last class, 3.5. We already did everything in 3.5. So let's just review 3.5. Equations of lines. Okay, you already told me what is the equation of the definition of the slope. What is the slope? Given 2 points, of course. The definition, the notation is m. You already told me an hour ago, y2 minus y1 equals x2 minus x1. Perfect. You already gave me y equals mx plus b. We talked about that, and this is the slope y-intercept form. We talked about it. You gave it to me. I didn't even say it to you. You also gave me y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1, which is the point slope form. Now, I'm going to graph a few lines. I hope you agree that these are lines. I would have to agree with you if you say they're not perfect lines. Yes, I would have to agree with that. They're not. But I would like you to tell me now, for example, what does the slope of this line equal to? And then what does the slope of this line equal to? And then what type of slope is this one of this line? Or what type of slope does this line have? So let's start here. What is the slope of what type of line is this? They're all linear. They're all lines. What? Very good. For a horizontal line, what is the slope? Perfect. What type of line is this one? Very good. What is the slope of a vertical line? How difficult it is to walk on it? That's not an indication of the slope. I just want to trigger your memory maybe from now on. Can I walk on this? This is not connect. There is no connection there. I just want to be funny. I'm trying. It does not exist. It's undefined. So if it's very easy to walk on this, again, there is no connection like that. But maybe that will trigger your memory. So if there is no difficulty, I have no difficulty to walk on this. It's impossible to walk on this, right? So again, just for something to trigger your memory. It's not a mathematical connection there. Okay. What type of slope is this?
Positive.
Very good. Positive slope. positive slope. And therefore, the last line will have what type of slope? Very good. Negative slope. Perfect. Two more items here, and then we'll move on to problems. Parallel lines. And perpendicular lines. When do I know that two lines are parallel?
The exact same.
Say it again.
Denominator.
They have the same
So
slope. Two lines are parallel if they never intersect, ever, which means they have to have the same slope. So two lines are parallel. They have the same slope. Okay. What about perpendicular lines? What is the relationship between the slope of the slopes of two lines that are perpendicular? So this line and this line, they are perpendicular. They form 1, 2, 3, 4 90-degree angles. So two lines that are perpendicular, if you look at any of the two lines on the grid here, those are perpendicular lines. So, what is the relationship between their slopes? Nope.
the slope is the
Negative multiplicative inverse. Yes. So M1 equals the negative or opposite of 1 over M2. I personally don't like to remember it like this. I personally like to remember it by after I cross multiply. For me, it's easier to say M1 times M2 has to equal -1. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So if you put 1 over here and you cross multiply, you'll get M1 times M2 equals -1. So both are the same. You choose which one you want to remember. So perpendicular lines, this line and this line, will guarantee to have M1, the slope of this line, multiplied by the slope of this line, will have to equal -1. Otherwise, they are not perpendicular. If this equals 5 or 3 or +1, the lines are not perpendicular. They are perpendicular because the slope of this line multiplied by the slope of this line will equal -1. Okay, so now let's go and work on some problems. I'm on page 224 to 25. We already had examples with given 2 points, find the equation of the line. Do you think we need to? We had already in the quiz and last time, two sessions ago. So do you think we still need another example with given 2 points, find the equation of the line? Okay, in that case, I want to look at a word problem and also look at a parallel and perpendicular situation. Okay, so let's say on page 225, let's start with problem 74. In 2005, when I read, I take notes. In 2005, there were a total of 150,000 apparel and accessory stores. 1,000 stores. And we know what type. In 2009, there were 157,000 stores. Part A, write an equation describing this relationship. Use ordered pairs of the form years past 2005, comma, number of stores in thousands. So they're giving us a hint. number of years since or past 2005 and number of stores. Okay. So we are told in the year 2005 we have 150,000, in 2009 we have 157,000. What we are not told, and it should have been in the problem, they should have told us the relationship between the number of years and the number of stores is linear. How will I know? Maybe it's quadratic. Maybe it's logarithmic. They should have mentioned that, but they didn't. So I'm telling you, we are told that the relationship between the number of years and the number of stores is linear. So, what is given in the problem and how do I write what is given in the problem? What do I make of this information? What does this tell me? Number of years since 2005. How much? 0, comma. The information given here translates into what? What is this? How do we call it? An ordered pair. Very good. So now let's come up with something similar for the second scenario. In 2009, we have 157,000 stores. However, we cannot use the name of a year. Yes, Danielle, go ahead. You wanted to say something? Very good. So you said 4, comma. That's it. Excellent. Good. So I'm back to the same problem that we worked on the quiz an hour ago. I'm given 2 points. I'm told there is a line passing through them. Find the equation. So how do I start? What do I have to write first or determine first? Indeed, I have to find the slope. Always write y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 because it's a practice of the formula so you don't forget it. And now please dictate. How will I write it? I cannot do that. I cannot use the name of a year in an equation. Unless I am told, use it. But that's very rare. I am told number of years since 2005. So that's why the first ordered pair is 0, 150,000, and the second one is 4, 157,000. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the top then? Divided by 4. So if I divide by 2 first, because it's easier for me, or you can use a calculator, it's 3,500 divided by 2. So then I have 1750. 1750 means nothing without what?
Stores per year.
Exactly. Number of stores per year. So what does it mean? The total number of stores increased per year by how many? Now I have the slope. The question is, how do I determine the equation that passes through these 2 points? I have 2 options, and I have to choose wisely. Which of the 2 equations that I have for the equation of a line, that's all I have, just these 2. Which one will I choose? The reason why I will not choose this one is because I am given the y-intercept. Will I get the same answer? Of course. Of course, it doesn't matter which of the 2 equations I use. But I said, let's choose wisely because this, if I see this point, if I have 0, a number, I should always use this, the slope-intercept form, because this will be b, which is nothing else but the 150,000, and the slope is the one that we just determined, and I'm done. No more calculations are required. I don't have to distribute. I don't have to move terms around and so on and so forth. So, but that's a special case. Only when I'm given 0, comma, a number, I can use that equation. If I'm given a number, comma, 0, I can't. Okay, so then I have y equals the slope 1750 times x and plus 150,000. So that is the equation of the line passing to the given points. Part B. Use this equation to predict the number of apparel and accessory stores in 2015. So this is part A, and now I want part B. In what happens in 2015, or what happened in 2015. What do I have to do now?
Make y equal to
So make y equal?
2015.
I cannot do that. The
X.
x coordinate is the number of years. I have to be consistent, the number of years since 2005. So then this 2015 represents 10 years. How do I determine how many stores were in 2015, knowing that y is 10? Any suggestions? Sorry. So what do I do?
Why isn't the X 10?
Oh, that's why everybody's confused. Of course x. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. My fault. I apologize. So then y will be 17500 plus 150,000. All I have to do is replace x by 10, of course. Sorry about that. Sorry about the confusion. So what do I get? So I get is it 167,500? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Measurement unit. 167,500 means nothing.
Storage.
No, this is the number in 2015. So the ordered pair will be 10, 167,500. Any questions?